morning. So today I have someone who went through a hard journey, but then it's what matters is how he came back. Rick is a talent acquisition manager and he is ready to lead and make a difference. He has experience in various startup environments with the ability to lead through ambiguity and become a leader himself. Let's welcome Rick on 10 Minutes of Hiding Wisdom, where he will tell us about what got him into talent acquisition, how he finds the right talent for his company, and where he's currently working. Hi, Rick. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Manal?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us, Rick. So can you tell us about
Thanks for having me.
the journey that you went through? What happened? Where did you end up exactly after that?
Yeah. So I've been in recruiting for about 10 years or so. Accidentally fell into it, so to speak. I was in the hospitality industry for about 15 years and was working nights, weekends, holidays, 70, 80-hour weeks. Quality of life just wasn't there for me. And so I made a conscious decision to walk away from that. Ended up at a staffing agency that I was referred to help me find work. My background was heavy in operations. I was running a $5.5 million a year restaurant, managing 80, 90 employees, 4 managers. So I had a full team underneath me, the P&L, et cetera. So I was hoping to kind of stay in the operational space, but also something to do with people, because if you have to enjoy working with people in order to work in the hospitality industry, and that's still something that I feel that is very much fulfilled working in the talent acquisition space. And walked into an agency, coincidentally ended up meeting with the branch manager, and one thing led to another. She's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about staffing?" I was like, "Or recruiting?" I was like, "What the heck is that?" And so one thing led to another. Met with the district manager, went through the interview process, and went through that and got hired, and um, uh, lasted there for a little over a year and a half. Got headhunted, as the term goes, for for a permanent corporate role, and the rest is history. So I've been my background has been in high volume operational recruiting. So I've done a lot of mostly has been in that environment, in the manufacturing space, a little bit in the pharma, a little bit in food production or production in general. I've had the pleasure of being able to travel to different facilities, different places throughout the country, experience different people and the flavor of each area. And so that's been really gratifying because I've been able to see a lot and learn a lot. So the term jack of all trades is definitely, I feel, applies to me in terms of the disciplines that I've recruited for. But in terms of recruiting, I feel that my previous history in hospitality definitely helped prepare me for this role in terms of shifting priorities, in terms of being flexible and being agile and being able to adapt to changes in the business environment, and working with your hiring managers and partners and stakeholders, and being able to react when need be, and then also be proactive when you should be. So
That makes sense. You're definitely an inspiration for a lot of people who are scared because they're like, oh, as in like they're going after the money, but then they don't have a work-life balance, and then it takes a toll on their mental health, and eventually they become burnt out. So
yeah,
thank you for actually standing up for yourself, making sure that you're actually pursuing a career where you can actually
yeah,
enjoy life while you're passionate about it as well.
yeah. Thank you.
So you're definitely inspiration for a lot of us. So Rick, can you tell us about where you're currently working, what your
Yeah.
role is within the company?
Yeah, so I currently work for a company called Eat Just. We're in the food tech space, which is a very hot industry right now. So when you think about companies that are in the meat alternative space, whether it's plant-based meats or other meat alternatives foods, that's where we are. We consider ourselves one of the leaders. Two of our biggest products are, one is called Just Eggs, which is a plant-based egg product that's derived from the mung bean. Highly sustainable, tastes like egg, cooks like egg, right? And has all the health benefits, but not necessarily all the drawbacks. So no cholesterol, right? None of the bad stuff that eggs have. You can find it at your local grocers, Amazon, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, Amazon, all the fun places. And we're expanding with that. So that's really exciting. We just, if you follow me on LinkedIn, we just entered into South Korea, and we're working into
Wow.
various other markets beyond the United States, obviously Europe, Asia, etc. The other part of our business is our what's called cell cultured meat, and that part of the business is called Good Meat. And that is exactly what it is, cell cultured meat. So, not the best name for it, but some people think of it as lab grown meat. And essentially, what it is we're taking the live animal out of the picture in the sense that we don't have to slaughter the animal. We don't have to go through the hundreds of thousands of millions of gallons of water that's being used to not only grow the crops to feed the animal, but also to nourish the animal, right? To provide water for the chicken, the cow, the all sorts of different things. So we're also feather in our cap, the first and only company to have regulatory approval for the commercial sale and human consumption of cell cultured meat. Singapore was the first city-state country to approve it. So if you're in Singapore, there's various ways you can get your hands on it. We're quickly working to scale that up, but especially now that we have that regulatory approval, lots of companies are chasing our tail, but we beat everybody. So that's amazing for us.
Wow.
There's Yeah, so
Definitely.
that's our company. What in terms of what I do, I'm the senior talent acquisition partner, working with the different business partners throughout our organization, from our R&D department, engineering, hardware engineering specifically, marketing, design, you name it, right? Scaling our
Wow.
businesses across all sorts of different parts of the world. So um, I'm highly
Okay.
focused right now on our R&D department because that's where a lot of our growth is in terms of our ability to grow and scale. So
Okay, perfect. And I absolutely love that people are actually becoming aware of their actions, where companies are becoming aware, they're going towards sustainability. And considering you guys are on the right route, I'm pretty sure you guys will go quite ahead, specifically because you're the leader in this industry right now. Because I think a lot of companies, as in like, had the idea, but none of them actually took the step towards that. So hopefully things work out for you. But Rick, I just have to ask, because you've been in the talent acquisition space for quite a while, according to you, what is one thing that makes a candidate stand out when they're applying for a job, and what is one thing that, like, when you see the resume and everything, you're just like, no, I just don't want to interview this candidate? Can you just maybe
yeah,
speak about
I
this?
would say be thoughtful about your actions. And what I mean by that is oftentimes we go through our ATS, our applicant tracking system, right, which is where resumes are captured when a candidate applies, and they you can tell candidates who just submit a resume and walk away, right? When they're blanket applying, so to speak, when they're just applying for roles that they think they might be qualified for, or whatever the situation might be. And then you can tell the candidates who really put a lot of thought and process in applying for that specific role because they're really pursuing that role, right? They either and I'm not saying every company has a requirement for a cover letter, but they might have attached a cover letter, right? They might have geared their resume more specifically and tied it to the job description, right? So it calls out specific things that are required for the role. If there's an application portion to the online application, other than just submitting a resume, they actually take the time to fill that portion out, right? Things like that, and those things stick out in an environment like this because granted, it is a candidates market right now. The openings definitely outweigh the number of candidates on the market, but that also doesn't mean that hiring the quality of hire should suffer. And so candidates still need to be smart about that. So my suggestion is be thoughtful about how you apply to a company because we're still paying attention to those things. Um, you know, bringing people in the door and who they are and the impact that they're going to have on the organization is incredibly important. And we want to make sure that we're bringing in folks who are going to add value to the organization because you're going to want to surround yourself with those types of people, right? Um, so that would be my advice, and make sure your resume is up to date. You'd be surprised how many times I see resumes that are a little outdated, you know. And you know what? It's okay
Wow.
if you've lost employment because of the pandemic. It's okay to put that on there. right? It's okay, like, laid off of May of 2020, and then, and just put something on there that you've been unemployed because of the pandemic. I think we're all understanding of that at this point in time as recruiters and talent acquisition people. Me especially, because I went through that, right? Working in a startup prior who lost funding, and I was laid off for quite a while. So I'm empathetic to that, and I think a lot of talent acquisition folks are as well.
Thank you for sharing that. And I completely agree. I think a lot of people are just scared because a lot of before talent acquisition managers used to be like, oh, why was there a gap
Right.
between your resume? So I think we're all in this journey together. And I think one thing that was good that came out of the pandemic was people became much more empathetic about similar
Hmm.
experiences. So, Rick, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us. Our time is up, but it was an absolute pleasure having you as a guest, learning about your experience, how you were headhunted, and how you ended up in the talent acquisition space. You are definitely an inspiration for people out there who are finding it hard to find the balance between work and life, but you managed to do so. So thank you so much for
Thanks
sharing
for having me.
that.